All right, let's dive right into this explainer. You and I are constantly bombarded by images representing digital wealth. But honestly, how often we actually stop to decode the visual language they're using? Well, today we're going to break down the anatomy of the modern digital investor. We're going to uncover exactly what psychological cues these images are sending us, and more importantly, how we can practically use that knowledge to our advantage.
Take a look at this perfectly crafted, highly stylized representation of the modern mobile investor. I mean, we see this archetype absolutely everywhere online today, right? From video thumbnails to those targeted social media ads. This isn't just some random cartoon. It is literally the modern archetype of digital wealth. It's engineered to instantly give you a very specific feeling about money and tech.
So we've got to ask ourselves, what makes this the perfect image of modern wealth? What specific visual elements did the artists use to make this such a recognizable, instantly understandable trope of internet success? Think about it. How does our brain immediately register this character as successful without us reading a single word of text? A huge practical step in being a smart consumer of digital info is learning exactly how to decode these images. To do that, we're going to break this down into 3 core visual pillars. First, the subject, then the tool, and finally, the reward. Starting off with Section 1, the casual, everyday investor. Notice what he's actually wearing, or rather what he's not wearing. There's no traditional Wall Street suit here. No tie, no briefcase, no stressful fluorescent-lit office background. His simple white t-shirt and casual blue overshirt perfectly define him as the accessible retail investor. By definition, that's an everyday individual managing their own personal investments. The artist is using this relaxed, non-corporate aesthetic to practically scream at us, hey, you don't need a fancy finance degree for this. You can jump in exactly as you are. And this brilliantly hits on a core theme of modern financial media. Just look at his expression. His relaxed posture and that confident, optimistic smile show exactly how digital wealth generation is marketed today, as an accessible, totally stress-free endeavor for the everyday person. It actively strips away all that anxiety we traditionally associate with the stock market and just replaces it with pure, approachable optimism. Moving on to Section 2, the upward trending tech. Now, what's actually powering all this optimism? It's the specific tool he's proudly presenting in his hand. The screen prominently features these massive upward-pointing green and blue arrows, right alongside those familiar dollar and euro coin symbols. It acts as this magical interface connecting the casual guy in the t-shirt directly to the global economy. The key takeaway here is total simplification. Upward arrows serve as the ultimate, universal shorthand for financial growth. And notice what's completely missing here. The screen doesn't bog you down with complex data, terrifying red lines, or intimidating spreadsheets. No way! Instead, it uses clean, upward lines to communicate instant success. It's an incredibly practical visual shortcut that bypasses our analytical brain and goes straight to the promise of growth. Which brings us to Section 3, visualizing the financial reward. So how does all this build toward the ultimate goal? Hovering right there above his open right palm, we get this cartoonish, almost magical manifestation of wealth. Floating green bills, loose gold coins, and a thick banded stack of cash. It is literally levitating out of thin air, totally detached from any physical bank or wallet. This brings us to a really crucial takeaway, the fascinating contrast the artist creates right here. We're looking at a direct comparison between digital action and physical reward. The work itself is entirely digital, right? It's just pixels on a glowing screen. But the reward is depicted as highly tangible, physical cash you can actually hold in your hand. This totally bridges the gap for the viewer. It takes the invisible, kind of abstract nature of digital investing and grounds it in our very visceral desire for cold, hard cash. Let's wrap this up with Section 4, final visual key takeaways. Let's distill the core messaging here so you can easily spot it in the wild. The primary takeaway from this whole explainer is that modern visual media heavily encodes financial success as something casual, heavily reliant on mobile tech, and effortlessly profitable. Digital wealth is always depicted as accessible, screen-based, and instantly rewarding. Once you realize this is a deliberate template, a great practical step is to start evaluating financial tools based on their actual merit, rather than just falling for the comforting, optimistic visuals that used to reel us in. So let's do a super quick visual recap to lock this all in. The casual attire implies accessibility. It lowers the barrier to entry for everyone. The upward arrows completely replaced complex, intimidating data.
And that floating physical money represents the ultimate goal, making the invisible digital effort feel wonderfully real and guaranteed. Together, these three pillars build a massively persuasive visual argument.
As you continue to consume digital media and see these avatars popping up all over your feeds, I want to leave you with a provocative question. How do you visualize your own financial success? Are you buying into this specific frictionless archetype? Or are you ready to look past the floating coins and upward arrows to understand the real mechanics of wealth? Keep that in the back of your mind the next time an ad promises you the world through a tablet screen. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and remember, always keep questioning what you see.